Hi, my name is Nur Dini. In this video, I will be explaining freedom of speech in Malaysia, including how it is protected by the Federal Constitution and why there are certain limits to this freedom. Freedom of speech has long been a contentious issue in Malaysia. This is mainly because many people find it difficult to distinguish between legitimate free expression and hate speech, as the line between the two is often unclear. Freedom of speech is considered the first postulate of liberty and holds a very important position in the hierarchy of fundamental freedoms. It allows individuals to express their opinions in a free and unbiased manner, which is essential for the development of human beings as individuals in society. Human rights are fundamental and inalienable rights that are essential for a dignified human life. Freedom of speech is one of these fundamental human rights, and it generally refers to the right to express thought through any form of communication or media, as long as it does not harm another person's character or reputation through false or misleading statements. The objectives of this presentation are threefold. First, to identify the limitation of freedom of speech in Malaysia. Second, to examine the current practices and issues related to freedom of speech in the country. And third, to explain the challenges faced in exercising freedom of speech in Malaysia, particularly within the legal framework. Freedom refers to the right or power of an individual to decide how to act and live according to one's interests, desires, and thoughts. It may also be defined as the condition of being free, politically, economically, or physically, from oppression, control, or imprisonment. One important meaning of freedom is the freedom to act or not to act. The term speech goes beyond spoken words. It includes various forms of expression such as what a person wears, reads, performs, writes, or protests. For comparison, in the United States, freedom of speech is strongly protected under the First Amendment of the US Constitution, highlighting how different countries approach this right differently. Freedom of speech is a key component of freedom of expression, which allows individuals to express themselves in the way they choose. In Malaysia, it is important to examine this right within the context of international law and Malaysian law to understand how it is applied. However, freedom of speech in Malaysia faces significant challenges due to various legal and societal factors. Laws such as the Sedition Act and the Communications and Multimedia Act are often critiqued for being misused to restrict dissent and critical discourse. These laws can create a chilling effect where individuals become afraid to express their opinions due to fear of legal consequences. One important case involving freedom of speech is the case of Muhammad Safwan Anang, the former chairman of Malaysian Student Solidarity. In May 2013, Safwan was charged under Section 4, Subsection 1 of the Sedition Act 1948 for a speech he delivered, which was alleged to contain seditious elements. The Sessions Court found him guilty, stating that his speech encouraged the public to change the law-based government illegally. Although the High Court upheld the conviction, the custodial the custodial sentence was replaced with a fine of 5,000 ringgit Malaysia. However, the Court of Appeal later ruled the statement did not have a seditious tendency, and Safwan was eventually acquitted and discharged. This case shows how freedom of speech can be interpreted differently at different levels of the judiciary. Another significant case is Mat Syuhaimi versus Kerajaan Malaysia, decided in February 2011. Mat Syuhaimi, a member of the Selangor State Assembly, was charged under Section 4, Subsection 1, Paragraph C of the Sedition Act 1948 for allegedly publishing seditious material. He argued that the provision was unconstitutional because it removed the requirement of mens rea or criminal intent, which restricted his freedom of speech under Article 10, subsection 1, paragraph A of the Federal Constitution. However, the court dismissed the application, stating that it was an abuse of court process. This case demonstrates that fundamental liberties are not absolute and may be limited by law, especially when it concerns seditious tendencies. In conclusion, freedom of speech is a fundamental right given to all individuals under international law, but it is subject to certain restrictions. In Malaysia, freedom of speech aims to balance individual rights with national interests, while it promotes open dialogue and participation. Legal restrictions are imposed to protect public order, racial harmony, and national security. Any restriction on freedom of speech should only be applied when necessary and appropriate in order to respect the reputation of others and maintain public safety and moral values recognized by law. That's all from me. Thank you for watching.